everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's me, just another sim guy here to talk about RaceRoom. And this is going to spark a debate. This is going to possibly be somewhat of an unpopular opinion in places. But I've been spending more and more time on RaceRoom, and I am actually finding it a hell of a lot of fun. But there are some things that I just can't seem to look past, and I don't know if it's because other sims spoil me with certain things, or there are some fundamental flaws on RaceRoom that, despite this massive resurgence in their online ranked systems and the popularity of it, are people still looking at this with rose tinted glasses, and are they looking through the problems and just enjoying the fun? I mean, is that a bad thing, to look through the problems and overlook the flaws and just enjoy it for what it is? But for me, there are some things which I just can't move past, and the more I jump between this and other things, I come back to this, and those annoying problems just, again, they just push me away. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what I'm finding to be quite frustrating with RaceRoom, what I'd like them to improve, but also whether or not I think this is even going to be possible. Has this platform, has this limit, has this game engine reached its peak, and is it just going to be downhill from here? And with the stuff coming out in future, is it just going to die? Let's talk about it, and let's see what we think in the rest of this video. So as this background footage clearly shows, is that there is some fun to be had. This is a race that I did at the weekend in the Mazda, so it's one of the daily races. You can jump in, it's well populated. I've got a half decent rating, so I guess I get into some decent splits, but I don't see a lot of issues. I don't see a lot of big crashes, rookie mistakes. I don't get involved. I'm not qualifying particularly high. I'm usually starting mid-pack, finishing mid-pack, but you can see there's some close racing. There's a decent netcode when you're close to people. There doesn't seem to be that many issues, but it's not very consistent. So whilst I'm enjoying it most of the time, and I really want to like it, I really want to enjoy it, but like I say, it's the switching between titles which have things that you take for granted, and you come back to this and it's all a bit meh. You know, I'm trying to be patient. I keep trying. I keep coming back to it. I keep trying other cars, but there's just some things that are just leave me with a bit of a sort of meh feeling, and you know, I wish it could have this and I wish it could have that. I just think it maybe has reached its limit, and the trouble is there's so much stuff coming out now. I mean, not always with positive previews, is there? I mean, Ren Sport's not getting some great press at the moment, but certainly AC Evos is going to be on the up and up over the next 6 to 12 months. You know, we've got AC Rally coming out, which again, a different discipline, but it's another game to dilute the player base. You know, the sort of people that play this might be inclined to enjoy things like Forza. There's a new Forza game coming out on the Horizon side of it. Again, free roam, maybe not the same sort of genre, but it's just another driving sim that I think people will enjoy. And I think because this is low cost and low entry, a lot of people dip in and out, and they don't want to take it as seriously, and they don't buy a lot of the content. They'll perhaps take advantage of the free content and the 90% off sale to get themselves into the rank stuff, but they're happy to leave it at that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But is that going to give the developers a solid user base and encourage them to develop things in the future? I think the tech is so old now. I did make a bit of a list, but you know, without going through it sort of point by point and 1, 2, 3, etc. I'm just finding it quite hard to optimize on my Pimax. I think Steam VR is absolute pants, and the fact that you can't get around it unless someone knows a way to get around it. I've spent a bit of time, done a bit of research, can't find a way around it, can't find a way around using Steam VR, and I find that really hard to optimize. The HUD is really annoying. I enlarge the HUD as much as I can with the sort of button that I've assigned to it. It's still really small. It's annoying me the fact you can't move it around. You know, it's 2025, and maybe we take these things for granted, and we don't understand that you know, people like me and you maybe don't understand that from a development point of view this isn't easy. But to me, that doesn't sound that difficult to implement. Just moving the HUD elements around and giving us a decent HUD, and just simply resizing it, even if I can't move it from the top of the screen. You know, the sort of the position bar with the sort of the deltas and stuff. If I can't move it, fine, but if I can't you know, if I can't move it, just let me resize it. Other things that I've sort of noticed is the road texture is really flat, you know, from a driving point of view, and the force feedback isn't as much fun as it used to be. I don't know if they're changing it. I don't know if I need to dial in my settings, but it just doesn't feel as nice anymore. There's been a huge amount of updates, and every time there's an update, there've been things going wrong and things that I've had to reset. I've had to change my visual settings sometimes to try and alleviate some stuttering that wasn't there before. The force feedback or the sort of feeling of the road seems to just disappear. And for what I've done recently, I just can't seem to get around. Some of these recent updates have just affected my force feedback. But yeah, it's getting a little bit sort of cumbersome, and I find myself, I've gone from treating them as little bits of quirks and putting up with them because it's so much fun, to now that the sort of honeymoon period's worn off, and there's no doubt that it looks a hell of a lot better than it used to, and it's populated and it's great to see, and it's got some good content, it's got some amazing tracks, but sometimes I just can't get past these things, and the more they go on for, it's almost like at the beginning of a relationship where there's these annoying little things that you look past and you don't, they're fine, they're small, and the good outweighs the bad, but then over time these little things add up, and after a while just become really, really annoying. Yes, it is still fun, but again, over the last month or so, I've had more disconnect issues and car disappearing issues than I've ever had on any other sim, and it's not my setup. And sometimes it's reassuring that in the chat after the race, people write in there, were all the cars disappearing for anyone else? I raced half the race. Someone put in there, I raced half the race with an empty field. And to me, the other day, I was going around, cars disappeared, reappeared. Wasn't just the car in front of me, or like you get on iRacing where the odd person glitches out. This is the whole field. And it sends my crew chief into a bit of a frenzy as well, because he's constantly giving me warnings. And then what happens is all the cars reappear. I mean, luckily I didn't quit out. They disappeared for so long I thought I'd been disconnected, and I started to slow down and was just about to sort of hit the reset button and take the hit on my ranking. And then everybody sort of reappeared, but I reappeared inside of someone else's car. And it didn't cause a collision, so I suppose it's got that going for it. It waited for us to separate ourselves, but we were one inside the other. And this is crazy. I mean, it's not my broadband, it's not my setup. And hearing about another 10 people in the chat after the race, not hearing them, but seeing them visually type in the chat after the race that they had the same thing and they were glad it wasn't just them. It's nice, it's reassuring to know. But I've had races where that's happened and I've disconnected. I've had races that have failed to start. And again, that brings me on to the chat side of it, the lack of a voice chat. Again, it's a little bit annoying, isn't it? I mean, it's one of those little niggles that I didn't think would bother me, but then you go to other games where you can have a voice chat, and then you don't get a chance to apologise if something goes wrong. You don't get a chance to share and tell people where you are. It's just, and you don't get that pre-game and after-game sort of discussion and the race chat. I think all of that really, really helps with the sort of social side of why we do these things, but anyway, there's the lack of sort of, there's a limitation on some of the car liveries. Again, little thing, but all these little things add up and they get a little bit annoying. But the most annoying thing for me at the moment is, while the recordings do look good, and you have to agree, the recordings look good and the graphics look good, it isn't always what I see in my headset. It's really hard to optimize my Pimax, and no matter what I turn down and how I limit it in terms of visuals, I get the same amount of stutters and the same amount of sort of wobbles. Worse online than offline, but still happens offline. And again, the recordings look smooth, so from a content point of view, it all looks great, but it just doesn't offer me the same smooth experience that I get with AMS2, Dirt Rally, iRacing, and it stops me from playing it. I've invested a lot of money and spent money into a good system with a good headset, and I want to get the most out of that. And at the moment, unfortunately, the more tech, the more advanced the tech gets, I think the further behind RaceRoom gets, and that's become apparent to me now that I've got my Pimax Crystal Super. And it's almost a question of, why would you invest in that stuff if you can't use things that are going to make that tech stand out to the best of its abilities? And I think, unfortunately, things like that are going to overtake RaceRoom. And whilst we don't play games just for the visuals, having something smooth and having a nice experience isn't too much to ask, I don't think. But there's no denying that it is a lot of fun, and there's no denying that they've made some massive improvements. But is it too little, too late? I guess that is my question. And you know, my worry is that this will be a very short-lived revival. And with more games on the horizon, it's going to get left behind. And I think the studio need to consider making a newer version from the ground up and addressing the community's questions and issues. Or, you know, is it just going to die a death? And is there even a space in the marketplace for this now, or has it run its course? You know, I've said it before. But anyway, I didn't want this to turn into a rant and a moan. I appreciate that I probably mentioned more negative things than positive things. I still think it can be a good experience. I still like it. And maybe some of the tweaks are things that are a me problem, and it's up to me to address them. But I'd be really interested to see in the comments what everybody thinks. And, you know, if you know ways of getting around using Steam VR, if you've got some good force feedback settings for a Fanatec Club Sport 2.5 that you think I should try, point me in the right direction. If you know how to optimize Steam better for my Pimax, if you know how to optimize Pimax Play better for my Pimax, I have made a video on what I found is the best balance. But if I'm missing something, I'm not afraid to admit I'm wrong, and I'm not afraid to learn. So put that in the comments. Let me know what you think, and perhaps we can have another chat about it when I've got a bit more information. And if I need to come back and remake this video and correct myself and apologize, then I absolutely will. But for now, the offline racing's good, the daily stuff is great, it's good to see things populated, but it worries me that these things are perhaps here to stay and will hold it back in the long run. So let me know what you think. I have been just another sim guy. If you've made it to the end, say sim guy in the comments, and keep an eye on the channel for a free game giveaway coming up soon. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.